This video is in no way trying to influence you in refunding Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. It's an attempt at a fun challenge made for entertainment purposes only.
PvZ Replanted just got released a few days ago, and it's basically PvZ 1 but in HD, alongside some new features. But there was one feature in particular that caught my eye, which was the speed up button that goes all the way up to 2.5x speed. And if you look at the top 3 speedrun times of PvZ 1, they are very close to 3 hours and 15 minutes without a speed up button. And so my mind got to thinking and remembered that Steam has a refund policy where if you play a game for less than 2 hours, you can request a refund and you'll most likely get it. And just doing some basic math, I realized that a 2.5x speed up could get the world record down to 1 hour and 18 minutes, meaning I could beat PvZ Replanted and still get a refund. But there's 2 problems. Number 1, I am in no way, shape, or form a PvZ speedrunner, and I've only watched a couple of videos on PvZ speedrunning. And number 2, I haven't played PvZ 1 in literally 5+ years. So let's see if the 2.5x speed up was overpowered enough to help me attain my goal. Oh, and before we begin, about 91% of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, so if you end up enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. But now, let's put the timer on the screen and start the countdown. I name myself PP and press start adventure as soon as possible. And in the same fashion as normal, the first level only has 1 lane that we have to worry about. So we plant our pea shooters far up front so that the peas from the pea shooters reach the zombies as fast as possible. And as soon as I got the chance, I made the speed up on the bottom right to 2.5. And in doing so, we'd beaten the first level in just over a minute, unlocking the sunflower. Day 2 adds 2 more lanes and then forces us to have 4 sunflowers down before the level even starts. But thankfully in doing this, I was able to speed up, and this made it much faster than it normally would have been. And as soon as the zombies started walking in, I was spamming my pea shooters as quickly as possible. And in doing so, level 2 had been beaten in a little over 2 minutes, and we unlocked cherry bomb. Now the cherry bomb is actually pretty important because you can't just spam it down, and you have to save it to use it strategically against tankier zombies, or either to just clear out the final wave. And as the final wave was about to be sent in, I was hovering my cherry bomb towards the front of the lawn, but I was waiting for all the zombies to come in, and right as they did, I blew it up and got the walnut. And now day 4 had finally added the last 2 lanes to the lawn. Oh, and don't mind the atrocious symmetry in this challenge because it's basically impossible to keep everything symmetrical and still try to be fast. But I should mention that we had now gotten to the point where it's smarter to let the first zombie get to the lawnmower so you could just farm sun. And you'll see that I spammed pea shooters in the bottom 2 lanes and then not too many in the top 3 lanes. And this was so that I could just take care of the top 3 lanes quickly with the cherry bomb, and then the 4 pea shooters each in the bottom 2 lanes would quickly do their jobs as well. Day 5 is a walnut bowling level, and it's pretty easy as you don't have to do much thinking. Basically, if you see some tanky cone heads, you use the red walnut. For the rest of the zombies, you just use the normal walnuts. But of course, we do save some explodo nuts for the final wave so we can take it out as quickly as possible and unlock the potato mine. The potato mine's pretty cool because it gives our sun a little more extra protection and also allows me to stall for just a little bit longer. And you might be thinking, what's the purpose in stalling if this is a speed challenge? And don't quote me on this, but from the speedrunning videos that I watched, I believe their strategy was stalling in the beginning, which actually makes it faster in the end. Basically, you collect so much sun in the beginning that the end of the level becomes very easy. And after using the cherry bomb, beating day 6, we unlocked the snow pea shooter. And this is a good level to mention that the 2.5x speed, though it saves us a lot of time, it's actually a challenge on its own. Because at times, there'll be zombies like the pole vaulter in the top lane who you misjudge and they completely just obliterate your defenses. But I was able to recover, and after beating day 7, we unlocked the chomper. And the chomper actually comes in pretty handy against extremely tanky zombies like the buckethead because it just one-shots them. And after beating day 8, we unlocked the repeater. And we replaced the snow pea shooter with the repeater as it's just much more beneficial to us because the slowdown effect of the snow pea shooter isn't really needed. And after unlocking the repeater, we don't really even use the pea shooter as the space it takes up isn't really worth it when you have the repeater. And using a cherry bomb for the final zombies, we beat day 9 and unlocked a note by the zombies, leading us to a conveyor level, which is also the last level of this first section. And this level is actually pretty long because even on 2.5x speed, it took about 2 minutes. But it also meant that we had beaten the first of 5 sections in 17 minutes. And if we kept the same pace for every other world, it would mean that we pretty easily get under the 2-hour mark. But of course, that's impossible as each section is harder than the last. With the second section being nighttime on the lawn, and we're given a pretty important plant for this run, Puff Shroom, a plant that does decent damage and it costs 0 sun. And the only downside to it is it only has a range of 3 tiles. But this isn't too big of a problem as most zombies don't make it past the 3 tiles if you have enough Puff Shroom down. And after beating the first level of nighttime, we unlock the Sun Shroom. And for the first half of the nighttime levels, you're going to see me using the Sunflower and Sun Shroom both simultaneously. And the main reason is just extra sun production, but also there isn't any other plants that we could bring in that would be better than the Sunflower. And with all the extra sun production, we're able to get down a bunch of repeaters. And after defeating night 2, we unlock the Fume Shroom. And the Fume Shroom, similarly to the Puff Shroom, has a smaller cost, but also its range is 4 tiles. But more importantly, it's used to deal with the screen door zombies that you see in the middle lane because it just goes through the screen door. And after defeating that last level, Dave offers us a 7th seed slot for 750 coins and we take it. And that 7th slot is pretty handy as we just unlocked the Gravedigger, which is an important plant to take out the tombstones. The zombies that spawn from the tombstones aren't that big of a deal. It's mainly that the tombstones just cover spaces where I could have more plants. And as the final wave of level 4 was coming in, I used the cherry bomb on the top 3 lanes and the bottom 2 were handled by my plants. And the next level was pretty interesting as it was a whack-a-zombie level, basically whack-a-mole with zombies. And if you look at the bottom right, you'll notice that I actually left this one on 2x speed instead of 2.5x speed. And that's because I felt like there's a chance that I'd lose if I left it on 2.5x speed, so I made the decision to just go with 2x speed, ensuring that I win on my first attempt and not waste time going on a second attempt. But as the final wave came in, I realized that even 2x speed was too much and I turned it down to normal speed. And with the help of a cherry bomb, I was able to clear out most of the zombies, and then we unlocked Hypno Shroom. And Hypno Shroom, like Chomper, is very important because it's used for the extremely tanky zombies like the All-Stars in that bottom lane. And as the final wave came in, most of the zombies were taken out by a cherry bomb, with a few stragglers taken out by my plants, and we unlocked Scaredy Shroom, who I personally really like as a plant, but it's not really needed in this run. And sticking to the same strategy, night 7 was beaten pretty easily as well, and we unlocked the Ice Shroom. In normal runs, Ice Shroom is an extremely powerful plant, but you don't really need it in this speedrun. But a plant we do need is the Doom Shroom. And Doom Shroom is basically cherry bomb on steroids, as you can just use it to clear out the entirety of a final wave with just one Doom Shroom. And in doing that, we got another note from the zombies, leading us to the last level of this section, which was once again a conveyor level. And compared to the last section, this section actually took 22 minutes instead of 17, which was pretty scary because for the first 2 sections of the game, I was pretty familiar with the strategies that I needed to use, but with the next 3 sections, I was kind of just guessing based off of previous knowledge. Like for example, the pool levels, which I knew were coming up, but I literally had no idea what the optimal strategy was for these levels. So for the most part, I just stuck with spamming sunflowers and repeaters, and it seemed to be working as we unlocked Squash. And the Squash was added to the lineup right away as it's basically just a cheap insta-kill plant. But another plant that I added instantly to the lineup was a 3-peater, which we unlocked after beating this level. And for the pool levels in particular, the 3-peater just works very well because it has 6 lanes and 2 are able to hit every single lane. And adding 2 more 3-peaters to the lineup was basically like having double repeaters in every lane. And after the Squash took out this annoying scuba zombie, we unlocked the Tangle Kelp. And the Tangle Kelp is very helpful in this run as it takes out the annoying scuba zombies that my repeaters and 3-peaters can't hit. And with an army of 3-peaters, we beat level 4. Level 5 was a pretty interesting level as it made all the zombies tiny but faster. And the only defenses that the conveyor was giving us were the pea shooters, lily pads, walnuts, and cherry bombs, which led to both the cherry bomb and walnut carrying us, after which we unlocked the jalapeno. And the jalapeno is pretty important as it's our main defense against the zombonis and it takes out the ice trail that they leave behind. But other than the instas, my main damage dealer was now just the 3-peater. And honestly, it was working pretty well as days 6 and 7 were mainly beaten eaten using only the 3-peater, after which we unlocked Torchwood. But day 8, I made a pretty big mistake against this Conehead because I'd forgotten that this was PvZ1's Torchwood and not PvZ2's Torchwood. And what I mean by that is I placed the Torchwood because I thought it was tanky like the one in PvZ2, but this one got instantly eaten by the Conehead and it was basically a 175 sun loss. But I was able to recover using a jalapeno at the end, unlocking a tall nut. And they're mainly used for these dolphins in the middle lanes that are extremely fast on 2.5x speed. But as we have enough damage dealers to deal with the dolphins, we don't actually need the tall nut to counter them. And my army of 3-peaters was able to take down day 9, with once again the last level being a conveyor level. And it's a pretty easy level as it gives us a ton of 3-peaters and then also torchwoods and tall nuts to support them. But by the time we reached the end of this level, the countdown had now reached 55 minutes. And with 2 more worlds left, it was starting to look like it was going to be a pretty close ending. And from this point onward, I'm actually going to take out the timer, because by the time I reached the end of this world, you would have known the outcome of the video by just looking at the timer. And of course, I just want to make it a teeny bit more suspenseful. But looking back at the levels, we're still in the pool, but now it was nighttime and there was a fog covering the front half of the map. And also we unlocked a puff shroom variant for the water, which is called sea shroom, which, like I said, is just a puff shroom in the water, but just has a little slower recharge. And after beating the first level of the 4th world, we unlocked the lantern. And the lantern's pretty nice to have because when you place it in the fog, it illuminates the area around it. But you have to be careful and protect the lanterns because otherwise the zombies are easily able to take them out. But with my army of puff shroom, sea shroom, and 2 3-peaters, we're able to beat this level and unlock Cactus, who is needed for the balloon zombie like the one you see in the bottom middle lane. But since there's only one of them in this level, we don't bring the Cactus and let the lawnmower deal with it. And also, after taking out these last 2 zombies, we unlock the Blover, which is basically the replacement for the Cactus. The Blover is nice to have because when you plant it, it takes out the fog for a little while, and also the balloon zombies are instantly defeated. But this does come at a high cost of 100 sun, so you do have to be pretty strategic of when you use it because otherwise you'd be wasting sun for no reason. And to defeat this level, I cherry bombed the last couple of zombies and unlocked a taco. And the taco basically leads to Dave explaining the evolution plants like Gatling Pea, Twin Sunflower, Gloom Shroom, and Cattail. But we can't afford any of them right now, so we just head on to the next level, which is a Vase Breaker level. And phases 1 alongside 2 were pretty easy to defeat, but I made a pretty big oopsie on phase 3 as I broke all the vases and then all the plants started disappearing one after another, and I actually didn't have enough plants to defeat all the zombies. But very fortunately, the Vase Breaker levels don't take away our lawnmowers, so I was able to rely on them to carry me, unlocking the Split Pea. And like most plants, the Split Pea is also introduced at a time where another zombie needs to be countered, and in this case it's the Digger zombie. But we don't bring in the Split Pea as the Digger can just be taken out easily by the squash. And after defeating level 6, we unlocked the Starfruit. And like I mentioned at the start of this video, I haven't played this game in 5+ years and had forgotten how good the Starfruit actually is. I kind of just brought it out randomly to try it out, but then it actually started destroying the zombies faster than I'd expected, and so I started spamming them across the map. And as the final wave walked in, I used the Doom Shroom, taking out most of them, with only the Digger zombie left, which I used the squash for, and we unlocked the Pumpkin. And the Pumpkin pairs perfectly with the Starfruit, making it a tank alongside a strong damage dealer. And though the strategy didn't feel fast, it felt safe and reliable, and that I wouldn't have to restart a level. And beating level 8, we unlocked the Magnet Shroom. Level 9, I stuck with the same strategy of the pumpkins and starfruits and then doom shrooms whenever needed, and in doing so we beat level 9, unlocking one more note from the zombies, which took us to function wise my least favorite level of the entire game. It's basically a level simulating a lightning / thunderstorm that blacks out your screen every few seconds, so you're sort of forced to memorize all the zombies and the lanes that they're in whenever the lights flash. Though it is a pretty cool idea, it just hurt my eyes every time the screen would flash white. But nevertheless, we beat it and we unlocked Cabbage Pole, which now transitions us to the roof levels. And for the first level, I basically just spammed Cabbage Poles for my main damage, unlocking the pot after beating the level. On level 2, I planted a column of repeaters in the front because they're actually able to hit the zombies down the lane and aren't blocked by the roof. And those, paired with 2 Cabbage Pole columns behind them, made this a very easy level, and we unlocked the Kernel Pole afterwards. But the levels were progressively getting more annoying as there were now 2 columns without any pots, and I would have to plant the pots myself. But even then, I was able to manage getting down most of my plants by the time the first big wave came in. And then added the rest for the final big wave, which very easily took out all the zombies, and I unlocked the coffee bean. And the coffee bean is pretty cool because it allows you to use the nighttime plant in the day level. And right here was actually where I made a pretty big mistake in buying the gloom shroom. And don't get me wrong, gloom shroom's pretty good, but you'll see what I mean pretty soon. And by pretty soon, I mean right now, because the zombie in the middle lane made it all the way to the end because I thought that I had lawnmowers when in reality I didn't. Because if you look at the shop, there's actually an option to buy them, and they're called the roof cleaners for $3,000. And as I had no money left, it would be impossible to buy them before that 2-hour mark, and I would just have to do without them. But in the process of making use of the gloom shrooms, another problem occurred, and it was the pogo zombie, which literally just jumped over everything and made it to the end once again. And on my third attempt, I thought I was prepared for it as I used the doom shroom to take out this one, but it completely slipped my mind that a second one could appear at any time, and as it jumped over all my plants, it made it to the end for a third time, and then also a fourth. On the fifth attempt, however, I was able to recuperate and we finally beat the level. And after that last attempt, I'd basically lost all hope, but I kept on playing as I made it too far to quit now. And 5-5 was a conveyor level, which are always pretty easy, and is basically giving me chompers, pumpkins, and pots, and also cherry bombs for when things got hectic. And after beating 5-5, we unlocked the garlic. And garlic is a pretty important piece to the gloom shroom strategy, as you can lead the zombies to the lane you want them to so the gloom shrooms can dominate them. And in doing so, we beat 5-6, unlocking the umbrella leaf. 5-7, I actually replaced the gloom shrooms with star fruits because I felt like I wasn't being efficient enough with them. And unlike the gloom shrooms, the star fruit don't have a 3-step process and just make it easier for me to use. And pretty easily, I beat 5-7, unlocking the marigold. 5-8, I used the same strategy of the star fruits with the pumpkins and then also kernel pults to stall the big zombies such as gargantuars. And honestly, once again, it worked pretty well and we unlocked the melon pult. 5-9, the penultimate level, I chose to just use the classic strategy of pults and walnuts. And honestly, I should have just been using the pult to walnut strategy from the beginning because it was dominating the levels way more than the star fruit or the gloom shrooms. But with that aside, we beat this level and its gargantuar, unlocking our very final note from Dr. Zomboss, leading us into the final boss level of this challenge, which isn't too difficult as it's a conveyor level and we're given more than enough catapults to deal with all the zombies. It's basically just annoying when the zombot uses these freeze and ice balls and you have to counter them with either the jalapeno or the ice shroom depending on the ball that it throws at you. But after a very long level, we're able to take down Zomboss, unlocking this trophy and the end credit scene that we're looking for, which right after I went back to the menu and left the game immediately because I didn't want the time to be over 2 hours. And we ended the challenge having played for 2 hours and 30 minutes, which, okay, I know it seems like I lost the challenge, but if you remember, our main goal is just trying to get a refund on the game after beating it. And the 2-hour goal was more of a requirement to obtain that. But if we're somehow still able to get the refund after going over the time limit, the challenge would still technically be completed. And I've heard that in some cases, even if you're over 2 hours, that if you give Steam a good enough reason, they'll still give you the refund. So I put on my thinking cap and submitted what I thought was a pretty good refund request. And now all I had to do was wait. And after 2 hours, I got confirmation that the game had been refunded. So the challenge had technically been completed. And I hope y'all enjoyed. Okay, bye bye.